Good evening, Source Nation, and welcome to Healthy Cooking with me, Chef Keith. This is a show where I will show you how to prepare healthy meals, but before I go any further, let me thank our sponsors who have made this show possible, and they are Scott's Cares Foundation, that's Scott's Cares with an S Foundation, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Urban Grandstand Digital, Cat Photography, Hits Masters, New Covenant of Praise Worship Center, and PS Photography. And today, Source Nation, we have a special holiday edition of Healthy Cooking with Chef Keith, and we're gonna roast an entire chicken, and we're gonna make sour cream and onion mashed potatoes with fresh green beans. No, they are not canned. No, they are not frozen. We're gonna make them fresh because this is Healthy Cooking with me, Chef Keith, and I promise you will enjoy this dish. Now, first of all, for those of you who are thinking about some great ideas to make for this up and coming holiday season, whatever it is that you decide that you celebrate, it's always nice to surprise some people with some nice dishes or a traditional spin on, or a good spin on some traditional dishes. And what I'm going to do here to start off is I'm going to just take about 4 cloves of garlic to start off, and as you can see, I have a half a stick of butter. And what I'm going to do is, because I promised you, Source Nation, that I was going to make a compound butter, or at least show you how to do it, and there's so many delicious ways to make compound butter, but right here, this is one of my favorite versions of compound butter. And all compound butter is that you basically take the butter itself and flavor it before you actually use it. Now, the butter has been sitting out a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit soft, and what I'm going to do is add some parsley. So I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of parsley, 4 cloves of garlic, and I'm going to use a half a stick of butter. And what I'm going to do is just drizzle in here about a teaspoon of olive oil, just to add a little extra something in here. Alright, and all I'm going to do is just mash and mix and mash and mix, and there's so many versions of compound butters you can make. I've actually made a compound butter with actually fresh strawberries before, and boy does it taste fantastic on waffles. So if you can master the technique of making compound butters so that when you use the butter it melts down, whether you use it in any type of dish you have, it just creates something tasty. And this is actually a great mixture to use when you're cooking shrimp. After you've heated your shrimp up and it's gotten all nice and opaque, add this kind of compound butter to it, and it'll add just an outstanding flavor. And it's also a key recipe for making a very, very tasty, healthy version of shrimp scampi. So all I'm going to do is just mash it all up. And for those of you who are watching this video, you see how fast I'm moving. I'm actually just fast forwarding the video, so don't think I'm actually working that fast. And there you have it. Look, nice and tasty. And you can form that into a ball too if you would like. So I'm just going to take that compound butter and I'm just going to stick it in the refrigerator while I am getting everything ready. Now, of course, I'm using 4 small potatoes, and I'm going to use 2 large potatoes, and I'm just going to peel here. All right. I know a lot of people, my wife likes to use a potato peeler, but me personally, I didn't grow up peeling potatoes, but I watched peel potatoes, and when we were kids and we would make French fries or whatever, this seemed to be too much work because it takes a certain control and patience to use a knife to peel potatoes. But some of you have potato peelers, but I'm a knife guy myself, so I am going to hand peel everything. I feel pretty confident about my ability to control the knife. But for those of you who cannot control the knife, go ahead and use your potato peeler and peel your potatoes here. it's not so much of a job for me. I never seem to have too much of a problem wanting to do this. And one thing that's important, Source Nation, is that you remember, even though some things take a lot more time when you're cooking fresh and you're not buying things already made, like already processed mashed potatoes out of the box or things like that, it always tastes better. In my personal opinion, it always tastes better when you put love and time into your cooking your dishes. And so I stick with that. So I don't use processed potatoes. I like to know where my potatoes came from, and I can add and take away. And if you, once we get further and further into Healthy Cooking with Chef Keith and we start growing our own vegetables, because that is always the best thing to do, you'll find out that your fresh vegetables always taste better when you grow them yourself. And it's important in this day and age, like I spoke about last week, that we start learning to be self-sufficient and not always relying on supermarkets to make sure that we have all of our fresh ingredients. So, and actually for this particular dish, I'm going to show you something that I have been doing, and you're going to find out that it's quite easy to do. So what I'm going to do is make nice chunks here. Now you can, and some of you will, when you're making potatoes, you will put the entire potatoes, like, you know, into the water to boil them. But I like to use chunks of potatoes. They cook faster like that, and you don't have to worry about is something all the way cooked through and nice and soft. So I'm just going to make nice chunks. I'm going to make 3 cuts here, long cuts. Then I'm going to go across the top and just go ahead and cube them nice and easy. Dump them into some water so they don't brown. And see, easy peasy, easy to do. Because this is Healthy Cooking with Chef Keith, and I am showing you the easy way to make fabulous gourmet style recipes in your very own kitchen. And for those of you who would like to see the video, make sure right now or right after the show to check our Facebook page, Healthy Cooking with Chef Keith, on the Source Radio Network Facebook page, and you can see the video, or check me out on Keith in the Streets on Facebook as well, and you can see the video there. And both videos are streaming simultaneously as the show is going on. All right, so nice and easy, and there we go. See? Now, something I'm using for my chicken right here, this is a little rack. Some of you might have something like this in your house. If you don't, sometimes you can buy some types of racks to elevate your chicken, and I just put some aluminum foil on the bottom of the pan. And basically what that's for is so that you can cook your chicken evenly by setting it up high, because most chicken dries out or overcooks the white meat, because the dark meat takes longer to cook because it's sitting in its own moisture and its own juices. Now I've just taken my chicken out of the refrigerator. Now this is not just water that the chicken is sitting in. This is actually a brine, and I've used about a cup of salt here, and I've used a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And if your chicken needs to thaw out, you can do this the night before, but I've had my chicken sitting in this brine for about 3 hours. And basically, we know the brine will actually season the meat internally, but at the same time, it makes it very, very difficult when you're cooking your poultry to actually dry the meat out, because the moisture will stay inside. So after I empty out the brine, I'm going to just pat the chicken down here. Just going to pat it down to make sure it's nice and dry. All right, nice and dry and tidy. And I'm going to set it on the rack. And what I was telling you guys before is that because you have it elevated, it will cook everything more evenly. So what I want to do here, this is a nice little technique that I learned from one of my chef instructors who I've never met, I've never spoken to, but because I did all this studying for cooking, I learned this technique. And I'm just going to take a piece of foil right here, And this works very, very well with turkey. Now, if we get a chance, what I'll do for the holiday season with a turkey, you're going to be absolutely amazed. And if some of you want to know how to deep fry a turkey or to smoke a turkey, please inbox me on my Facebook page, Keith in the Streets, or Healthy Cooking with Chef Keith, and I will make sure to have a show to show you how to do that. So what I'm going to do with this foil is make it into sort of a triangle shape, and what you see how it just fits perfectly over the breast meat of the chicken. See? Nice and perfect. So it's like a little chicken breast hat. And I'm going to take some non-stick spray. Get nice and sprayed when I see it fits perfectly. Alright. And I'm just going to set that to the side. Now another little trick I'm going to use here is I'm just going to take some of the skin from the breast here, and I'm just going to cut a slit here. Just loosen up the skin a bit. Alright. And also, one thing I did do was actually rub down the entirety of the chicken with olive oil too. So the outside of the chicken is nice and greased up, and that will help with the browning. So I'm just going to cut a few slits. And you can kind of gauge this how you want to gauge it. Find little pockets that you would like to, put the slit in here. And like I said, this is another technique that I have learned along the way. You see, I'm just going to make little pockets here. And remember that compound butter that we made earlier? There it is. Ta-da! I'm going to actually take half of this compound butter. And we're going to put it in a little basket because we don't want cross-contamination, so we don't want the raw chicken to touch the spoon that touches the butter so that we can't use it later. So I'm going to separate it before I start working with my chicken. See? I'm just going to put it in a way, and I'm not going to put that back in the refrigerator because I kind of want that to be soft. So what I'm going to do is take those little chunks of compound butter, that's with the parsley, that's with the garlic, that's with the butter and the olive oil, and I'm just going to shove it underneath the skin like that. Nice and easy, just slips right in there. And like I said, you can do the same technique with chicken, and you can add as much as you like at this point. And don't worry about the over seasoning of it, because what will happen is as the chicken will cook down, this butter will start to melt, and it will start to flavor the chicken as well. So it's sort of a basting action underneath the skin, and you can make as many slits. I'm just for the sake of Source Network Radio, I'm just going to just add little pieces here. But you can kind of play around with this. Go wild with it if you choose. You can load up those chicken breasts, especially if you're a chicken breast fan. And you can cut slits. It's harder to cut slits into the thigh meat because it might drip down into the bottom. But if you use it in these two parts here, you can have it sort of cooked down in that way. So I'm just going to stuff it in there. Nice and easy. There you go. And I have my oven set at 425 degrees. That's right, 425 degrees. And into the oven it goes. After a good clean hand wash, I'm going to take my fresh green beans. And actually you want to set your oven to 30 minutes. So we're going to go 30 minutes at 425 degrees. Our goal here is to not dry out the white meat. We don't want to dry out the best. A lot of people, especially during these holiday times, they don't want to eat the white meat. And some people who do like it, they're just used to it being dry. But you will be amazed that the white meat, the breast meat of the chicken will be so nice and juicy and tender. You will be shocked that you can get that out of a roasted chicken, because people are just, right now, I think they're just accustomed to eating it a little bit dry. But with this technique, with the brining, and with the technique I'm going to show you today, we're going to prevent that from drying out. And there are green beans. Toss them in the water a little bit. Ta-da! Nice and done. Now you see here, these are green onions I used a couple weeks ago, just a couple weeks ago. And what I did was I took what was left over from our green onions here, and I just took the white part and put them in water. They grow roots. You see that? And what I'm going to do is take them and put them back in water. I bought a little jar at the dollar store. You put them back in waters and they will keep growing back. And you will have an endless supply of green onions. So if you don't cut them down as low as I did just now, you can keep using green onions and never have to go back to the store to purchase any more again. I mean, how convenient and cost effective is that if you can grow your own vegetables? And I didn't grow this outside. I grew it sitting on one of my tables in my living room, just next to the window, just like I'm growing all my flowers and plants. It's just really that simple, and it will keep growing, growing, growing uncontrollably. And when it gets too big, you just cut them, use them, store them, and there you have it. You can even dry them and use a dry version. But see, look, nice and easy. Look how fresh that is. That didn't come from the supermarket. That came from my living room. That's fantastic and easy. So out of the oven after 30 minutes, there is my chicken. Now, as you can see, it didn't overcook or anything like that. We're just starting the process. And so after we go the 425 for 30 minutes, I'm going to take our little shield of armor that's really made out of aluminum foil, and we're going to take our shield and I'm just going to put it right down on the chicken, because we already know it fits, because we tried it out earlier, and back into the oven. Now in the process, I turned my oven down to 360, so it's not quite at 360 just yet, so the temperature is coming down, so the residual heat from the oven will help cook the chicken, and you want to put it in there for an additional hour. Now while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to cook my potatoes on low. We're going to slow them down, add a little salt to the water here. All right, so we're starting to prepare. And one thing that's real important to me is that you can serve everything hot and ready on the table at the same time, which most people would agree is the most difficult thing to do when you're cooking multiple dishes at one time, is to get everything ready at the same time and sort of gauge it. So if you cook it on a low simmer, a lot of times you can have everything gauged to the point where when it's time to serve, it'll be ready to go when you're ready to use it. So I'm going to put on my green beans and some water, pick that little stem out of there. Stems aren't as tasty, but you know, some people like them. I'm trying to get kids to eat them, so anything I can't do, you know, I figure out a way to do it. Add a little salt to it as well. And now, after an hour, we take our shield off. We turn our temperature up to 375. We're going to go back into the oven for another half an hour, just so it get brown. You see how everything has gotten brown around the breast, but the breasts are not brown because it has not dried out. And right here we have our potatoes. They've come out, and like I said, you can actually start this process. I didn't start cooking the potatoes. It might have seemed that way. I didn't start cooking them until a half an hour into cooking the chicken. So by the time this chicken will be ready to come out the oven, the potatoes will be ready to go. So I'm just going to add about a third cup of sour cream to the potatoes. All right, just going to get everybody into the pool there. And my family love this dish, Source Nation. I'm telling you, they love this. If you love sour cream and onion potato chips, you're going to love this version of mashed potatoes. Sour cream and onion mashed potatoes. They love this. This was their favorite part of the dish. And if you want, and you can get low-fat sour cream if you choose. And oh, and don't forget that compound butter we have left. I'm just going to dump that in there as well. There we go. And I'm going to dump in all my green onions. Bam. Beautiful. And you can see the steam rising from the potatoes, and the smell right now is amazing. And I'm just gonna take my blender because I cook my potatoes perfectly, so they're just gonna fall apart right here in the dish. Nice and easy. Make sure they're nice and creamy. Oh, and the green onions and sour cream and potatoes. I'm telling you, you're gonna love this dish. And if you're thinking about a side dish, if you're doing a little potluck for the holiday season, bring this, right? And you can actually make this in a slow cooker. Put your potatoes in a slow cooker, cook them real slow, and then right before you take them to whose ever house or people come to your house, add the sour cream, add the scallions, keep it all heated, mix it all up, keep it nice and warm. This is a very, very superior, tasty dish. I promise you. Promise. And remember, if anybody wants to get in contact with me, you can follow me on Twitter at @MrKShow1, or even on Instagram at @MrKShow1, or either Keith in the Streets on Google+. And there is your meal, nice and beautiful, everything steamy and tasty, just wonderful, wonderful, and ready to go. And the meat was tender, nice and juicy, the best you've ever tasted. And through request of my son, he said he wanted to make a cameo in this week of Healthy Cooking with Chef Keith. There he is, enjoying his meal. Yeah, he's enjoying it. He said, "Dad, can you put me on the show so I can show everybody, because you never show anybody eating the food." And there he is eating, and he's enjoying it, getting kids to eat healthy. So there you have it, another simple meal. Now, wasn't that easy? And once you finish it up, you'll find out just how tasty it will be. But before we go, I just want to thank our sponsors who make this show possible, and that's Scott Cares Foundation, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Cat Photography, Urban Grandstand Digital, Hits Masters, New Covenant of Praise Worship Center, and PS Photography. So tune in next week with the Source Radio Network with me, Chef Keith, as I'll show you how to make tasty and very affordable gourmet style meals in your very own kitchen. Easy, affordable, gourmet style cooking is as close to you as you are to your kitchen. I'll see you next week.